like a stupid question.
Probably is, because, yeah, go ahead. Skilled managers equals high morale, which equals all that cool stuff that you cannot pay for and you can't punish for. When you close off that feedback channel, you are not going to be able to hear the truth. In the first microseconds, your brain can't tell the difference between physical danger and what we call social danger.
I'm pissed off at you.
Me, specifically?
Well, just because you're my boss and all.
Employees tend to get promoted until they reach their level of incompetence. Go forward and don't suck. Greetings, dear listeners. This is Ethan Nash. I'm CEO of Nash Consulting. And I want to give you a quick insight into how you can improve your decision-making as a leader with one simple tool. It's called the Rule of Three. See, we often find ourselves deciding between two options. This is, from my view, typically our natural instinct. We can do this, or we can do this. We can do this, or we don't do this. We implement option A, or we implement option B. Now, by just adding a third option into the mix, we can substantially improve the outcomes of our decisions. In fact, decision-making sciences indicate that adding a third choice to our decision-making options increases the likelihood of successful outcomes of those decisions, and in some studies, by up to 30%. Make this a part of your decision-making system with your team. In other words, hey, on this team, we won't make a decision until we have at least 3 options. Now, of course, this doesn't need to be the case for every single decision. Let's not take this too far. Like, we don't need to come up with 3 options for the venue for our team retreat, or we don't have to have 3 types of coffee choices to choose from to put in our break room. It's about using this for the bigger, more consequential decisions. So, rather than, hey, we can either do this or we don't, work with your team to find a third option. It might be, we either implement option A or option B, or, hey, you know what, team, let's keep working on this until we come up with a reasonable third option. So now we have option A, B, or C to choose from. Now, this doesn't mean that option C will usually be the right option, but by continuing the discussion and brainstorming around options until you get to that third option, you are forcing yourself and your team to think harder and more creatively and keep working at it until you identify more possibilities. And by doing this, we start to see further possibilities. We get outside of our current paradigms because it forces us to put more cognitive effort into finding the solutions. And when we identify a third option, I find that more often than not, the solution you land on becomes a combination of the 3 options, which implies that by identifying 3 options at minimum, you can end up identifying, 4 or 5 options, right? So it opens up the possibilities. The rule of 3 helps us see things we hadn't seen before. The rule of 3 forces us to expend more cognitive effort and shakes us out of our complacency with our decisions. It opens up new horizons. Most importantly, in my opinion anyways, the rule of 3 often forces us to bring more voices and opinions and perspectives into the conversation in order to get to that third option. Because we often get stuck with just 2 options. So we need that extra energy introduced to the system through more voices and opinions. So the rule of 3, at the end of the day, it creates a more inclusive and collaborative approach to decisions. Because getting past our current paradigms often requires diverse perspectives. And the decision-making sciences also indicate that the more diverse perspectives in the room, the better the decisions, given that there is a decent level of psychological safety among those discussing the decision. The rule of 3. We can either do this or we don't. Or what if we did this? Or we can either do option A, option B, and what about an option C? The rule of 3. See how it works for you. Hey, if you're up to it, go ahead and share this episode with at least one leader who could benefit from this. Cheers!